Hey, what is up guys? Armchair Tuna back again with another video, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over the top 5 best weapons in the Grounded 1.4 update. Now, these weapons are only going to be from the 1.4 update, so I'm not going to be including stuff like the Sour Battle Axe or the Club of the Mother Demon. And also, I'm not going to be including any infused weapons either, because you have to do RNG to get the best out of them, which is something I don't really want to deal with. But to keep it short and simple, it's just the 1.4 weapons. And yeah, without wasting any more time, let's get right into the video. Alright guys, so for the first weapon of today's video, it is going to be the good old Salt Chipper, and the Salt Chipper is one of the most unique weapons out of this entire update because of the fact that it is a two-handed busting weapon that is down the salt path and also deals final bleed. So not only can this thing break upgrade rocks, whatever you want it to break, it is also a really decent alternative to the Club of the Mother Demon, which, if you do salty, is really one of the best ways to take out the Mantis and Wasp Queen. But this thing can also be a decent alternative to fighting those enemies. And the main reason is that, one, final bleed can actually deal a decent amount of DPS, and two, here are also the mutations I would highly recommend doing. It's because of Smasher, because what Smasher does, its first perk, not its mastery bonus, is that you're actually able to slow down the attacks of enemies, and in the Mantis and Wasp Queen fight, it is detrimental to slow them down because they have really fast-hitting, hard-hitting attacks, as well as the mastery bonus, being able to stun them much easier, is always solid all around. And I would just have Parrymaster and Coup de Grace for stamina, and Parrymaster and Cardio Fan for stamina, and Coup de Grace and Trapper Peeper for damage. But yeah, there's really nothing much to say besides I would highly recommend getting a trinket with probably Final Fury, crit days, and I would also want to say maybe even Final Goo, but I'm probably going to be wrong on that. But I think C Dinky also made a video on probably one of the best hammer builds, so I will probably link that down below. But that is pretty much all I have to say for this weapon, besides it is a really solid and unique weapon. Unfortunately, not unique enough to make it further down this list, but we will get to those weapons soon. Alright guys, so for the next weapon of today's video, coming in the number 4 spot, it is the good old Pickle Maul. Now, the Pickle Maul actually got a detrimental buff during the 1.4.2 update, similar to the Salt Chipper, and pretty much what that is that it has Final Fury now. Not only is this thing extremely hard-hitting, has some of the highest stun out of any weapon, it is also really quick, and because of that, you could actually use this weapon. In my opinion, this is probably the best weapon besides maybe the Sour Battle Axe or the Battle Axes to take out and speedrun the Assistant Manager, and especially Director Schmechter, because I know he can be extremely annoying on New Game Plus. But here is a mutation loadout that I would highly recommend doing. The only reason why I have Barbarian is because of the fact, like I said earlier, if you want to speedrun the Assistant Manager and Director Schmechter, the Pickle Maul is definitely going to be the way to go. And Barbarian also just increases its damage by, I think, 25-30% if I'm not wrong, but also they don't really attack that often, so you can definitely get a bunch of damage out of the Pickle Maul. But if you want to run this thing just as a generalist build, then I would highly recommend doing Buff Lungs or maybe even Meat Shield if you want to. It just depends on what you want to do. And there's really nothing else to say besides the Pickle Maul is a really solid weapon. General use, maybe not so much. Maybe you would want to have another weapon, but also, another thing I almost forgot to mention is that this thing is really, really good amongst the final defense on the Java-matic, as this thing can deal a huge amount of damage to the enemies, and not only that, but it can provide a huge amount of stun. So if you have an infused enemy that has the explosion infusion, sour ball infusion, any staff infusion or infusion that deals a high amount of damage, you can stun them and deal a huge amount of damage to them. But yeah, the Pickle Ball is once again, really solid weapon all around, and I would highly recommend giving it a try sometime during the Final Defense or Schmecter, one of those two things. Alright guys, so for the third weapon on this tier list, it is going to be the good old, you probably already saw it, the Breath Slayer. And the Breath Slayer is a really solid weapon, similar to the Salt Chipper and the Pickle Maul. After the 1.4.2 update, sorry about that, it actually got its effect changed from Final Parry to Final Aftershock, meaning this thing is pretty much like the Mint Mallet, but better, because of the fact that not only can you slow down enemies, but it is also so much quicker than the normal Mint Mallet. It doesn't have as much stun, but that doesn't really matter too much when you're swinging this thing incredibly quickly. It's got Final Aftershock, which it will increase your stun damage and also slow enemies down. But moving on to the mutations I would recommend using, I would recommend getting Blade Master for this, sorry about that. You can lower the amount of damage enemies do and also remove your exhaustion timer, which can come in clutch really often depending on the situation you're in. And then Parry Master and Cardio Fan once again for stamina, and Coup de Grace and Trapper Peeper for damage. But for mutations, for the trinket, I would actually highly recommend trying to roll a trinket with Samurai and Final Fury, as if you do, you will get one of the fastest weapons in the entire game. The final effect doesn't really matter. I would say probably just crit hit chance if you can, but yeah, this weapon is really solid all around, especially during the infected Broodmother fight as a great alternative. But honestly, I would still recommend the Toenail Scimitar because you can use it with a shield during her third and final phase. But even then, like, this thing is really solid to use during her fight, as not only can you slow her down, but you can just do a vast amount of damage because, like I said, if you get a trinket with Samurai and Final Fury, you are going to be extremely quick. Not only that, but Blade Master, if you get hit, will lower the amount of damage she does, which is extremely good. And once again, similar during the infected Broodmother fight, if you get hit, it is, it's gonna not be that well for you. It's just gonna absolutely suck. Alright, and for the second to final weapon of today's video, it is going to be the Blazing Edge. The Blazing Edge is, without a doubt, just extremely strong. I'm going to get this out of the way. Legit, the only thing you really need on your trinket, if you do get one, is Implant Weakness Spicy and Spicy Damage up best, as you will deal a huge amount of damage with this thing. And there's really nothing else to say. Like, it's such a good weapon with Final Fury. Battle Axes in general are one of the highest damaging weapons in the entire game. And also, this thing is really, really solid to use on the normal Broodmother fight, as you can easily farm her with the Final Fury effect. The amount of damage you're going to do to her, even though she is resistant to chopping, is going to be greatly expanded because of the fact that, you're going to probably be running Chopper with this. And Chopper, I think it's like a 30% chance and apply that, armor debuff to them. And also, it removes your stamina delay when not exhausted. So, if you're just not exhausted like it says, you will regenerate stamina quicker, and this could be improved by, once again, Parry Master and Cardio Fan for stamina mutations, and also Coup de Grace and Trapper Peeper for damage mutations. Like I said before, there's nothing else to say about this besides it is by far one of the best weapons in the entire game. Just really, really good. It can be used to you know, help you build a base by chopping down grass and weed stems. And yeah, I'm gonna leave it off there. But anyways, let's get on to the final weapon of today's video. All right, guys, so for the final weapon, you will all be 100% surprised by this. It is not only the one, the only, the Fresh Edge. Yeah, I mean, none of you were really surprised. The Fresh Edge is pretty much just a slightly better version of the Blazing Edge because of the fact that more enemies are weak to fresh than spicy. And once again, for the trinket, I would highly recommend getting a trinket with implant weakness fresh and also fresh damage up best. And for the final effect, it doesn't really matter. It just kind of depends on what you want to do. And mutations are really just all the same. I'm not really going to repeat them. This thing is by far one of the best weapons in the entire game, hands down. Actually, what am I saying? It is the best weapon in the entire game, hands down. Because of the amount of enemies that are weak to fresh, you really just get a bunch of value with this thing by default. And also, like I said earlier, if you get a trinket with implant weakness fresh and also fresh damage up best, then you're going to be doing even more damage with this thing, which is absolutely insane. And I keep forgetting to mention this, but depending on the armor you're using, if you're using Fire Ant armor with maybe even the Broodmother chestplate and Mantis Greaves, you are going to be doing a huge amount of damage and DPS over time. Allows you to absolutely shred through enemies. And I actually use this thing to absolutely speed run through the first and second phase of the infected Broodmother, as you see in this gameplay here. This is her second phase, and it is pretty much a cakewalk. I wouldn't really recommend using it on her third phase, as she's just way too quick and deals way too much damage and she pretty much just out DPS's Battle Axe. Just really solid weapon, by far the best weapon in the entire game. And really nothing else to say besides that is going to be all for today's video. If you all enjoyed this quick top 5 tier list, then please make sure to like and subscribe and tell me down below which weapon you think is the best weapon in the entire game and give your reason why. But anyways, I will see you all later. Peace.